So I watched exactly 2 videos researching this manga in preparation for all of this, and both of them said the exact same thing, and that was that they wouldn't even talk about the story. Either because it was too confusing, or maybe because it was just too subjective, and it was such a personal experience that everybody that read it came out having a very different experience than the person next to them would have had reading it, or came out with a different idea as to what the meaning of or what the moral of the story was. So immediately I thought, ooh, maybe this isn't the best manga for this style of walk-through video format. And then I thought, f*** it.
Buram.
So we open up on Kiri and his little traveling buddy, a little boy that he's walking around with. And they walk past some random guy, he turns around and Kiri just murders him. And basically says he was going to take the kid's cells. And I have zero experience with this world, these characters, or anything that's going on, and I immediately just believe him like, yeah, that sounds legit. And I'm not even going one step further into this video without stopping right now to talk about the art on display in this book. I mean, we open up with this. By the very next page, we have an action scene that looks like this. And by the very next page, we meet this f***ing guy. I mean, this is just amazing. Anyway, so we see that these people are after them, and on the very next page, this manga's gonna hand my ass to me, and I'm not even gonna know it for 2 more pages. So here's the page. Okay? Did you catch it? 'Cause I didn't. So on the very next page, you're like, oh, wow, this action is awesome. Turn the page again. Wait a second, where'd the kid go? So now let's go back 2 pages. We get a quick shot of something going through this kid's leg, and a reaction shot that looks like this, and then this of the dude holding him. And none of these panels are overly large or look important like they're intended to draw your attention. They're just presented so matter-of-factly. And right here you know, because it just smacks you right in the face, or at least it did me, that this is a whole different manga. This is a different story. This is a different kind of story. I'm not going to be able to read this like I read Berserk. I'm going to have to slow down my reading. I'm going to have to pay the f*** attention and really look at what's happening, because that's literally all you get, or the pictures. There's nothing else to help you. But anyway, now he's going to go after these guys because they just took his kid. And he's going to get this kid back. And I don't know if he wants revenge or if he's just pissed off or what, but Kiri is not f***ing around, and unlike Thor, Kiri goes for the head. But actually it ends up being pretty freaking sad because he does get the boy back and the boy is dead. And then he just picks up this sack with the dead body in it and just kind of carries it around for a while, and it's gonna all end in this. And it just feels so lonely and quiet. And I can't stress quiet enough. And you don't realize just how much noise your own inner monologue makes. Even if you don't like talk out loud to yourself like as you're reading it, you're quiet, but you're reading all the words, and all the words fill your head with noise. And you don't realize just how much noise you create in your own head when you read until you open up a book that has no words and there's nothing to read and it's just silence. And the pictures convey silence and there's no words banging around in your head to make any noise. So your whole mind, the entire interior of your head is silent. It's so haunting and weird to read. And then at this point, while he's sitting here on the bridge, we've gone 30 pages without a single word spoken. I counted. And then a girl shows up with her cute little dog. I mean, I think he's cute, but He might not be. And she starts setting up all of her equipment, and she has this pod that she's going to put the body in and doing all this stuff. And she's here for a good minute doing all this before she finally phones in to report, and finally somebody speaks a word. And by the time she calls in this report, we've now gone 43 pages with 100% visual storytelling, not a single spoken word of dialogue. 43 pages. Once again, I count it. I've never seen anything like it. It's completely mesmerizing. I don't even know what to say. And here we get just a little bit of exposition. Just enough exposition to let us know that there is a gene that they're looking for, and this place is huge, like hundreds of thousands of levels, and that's just the local area. He also stumbles across a book, and in the book it speaks of land, and he asks the girl, what's land? So in this construct that is literally unimaginably huge as far as we can tell, the concept of land means nothing to them. They don't even know what that word means. So all they know is this structure, which I would figure would be kind of obvious, but just that land thing kind of really hammers it home. And once again, it's 2 words. He says, what's land? And it just it fills out the entire concept in your brain. You fill in all of those pieces all by yourself from 2 words of dialogue. This is impressive. This is, if I complained in my Berserk videos about, oh, I gotta talk it to death, I gotta over-explain everything, this is the polar opposite. This is, I'm gonna give you 2 words. What's land? You can figure the fucking rest out for yourself, which you can because of the way it's told. Everything else in there goes together in such a way that when he says those 2 words, you're like, yep, that's literally, it explains everything. You know everything you ever needed to know from 2 words. Thank you, Nihei. Anyway, the next section kind of feels almost normal because we actually open up on normal people having a normal conversation and doing normal work. You're like, oh, what's this? What is happening here? When they're ambushed by what's called a watcher, just for them to go chasing it and then find it dead and find Kiri unconscious. Then, after he wakes up, we have another conversation and we find out that the specific gene that he's looking for is called the net terminal gene, and it allows humans to interface with the net or something. But some more watchers show up and everyone runs away, and Kiri just walks out to face this huge threat, and he just casually just walks out there. You're like, uh-oh. And then we get to see just what this little pistol that he's carrying around with him is actually capable of. And let me tell you, it's impressive. But moving right along, we wander into another abandoned section, and these are just completely awe-inspiring. I cannot say enough about the artwork that is on display here every time you go from section to section or even room to room. And just how lonely it feels anytime that there is nobody around. He's just wandering through corridors, finding dead bodies, finding some type of food rations, and then a row of tanks, which looks like it has bodies in them, just to be ambushed by this fucking thing. To which his response is to punch it in the face, which I will always appreciate that. That is always a good move. And then he gets out of there, destroying the entire place in the process, by the way, because Kiri apparently does nothing but just devastate. Don't mess with Kiri. I've been in this for like 450 pages, and I already know, don't f with this guy. But essentially at this point, what we've got so far, and will continue to get for a while, is just a series of chapters or logs introducing different people, different areas, different ideas, different concepts. They're very connected, but they're just a little bit disjointed in the way that they're connected. They feel almost not connected, even though they clearly are, with some chapters feeling like you've just magically teleported to a new place, and other chapters literally starting off in the exact same room. But they all have a very specific focus so far. Essentially, this is just doing the work of the world building, but it feels almost unique to this manga, at least the style in which he's chosen to do the world building. I love it. But anyway, in this log, we're at the administration, and that, whatever that means. But most importantly, in this particular log, what really hits me in this one, or at least this is the first time that it's really hit me. Reading this manga is going to be a series of just like revelations that kind of just smack me in the face as I go. But what hit me in this one is his mastery of the last panel on a page. First, he forced me to stop and slow down my reading, making me focus on every single panel in the page, or I might miss out on some vital information. Now that he's got you to slow down and pay closer attention, now he's going to start making the last panel of the page almost like a cliffhanger, to the point where you either can't wait to turn the page, or you don't even want to turn the page because you don't want to know what happens after that. Like, you see that one last panel and you're like, that. But anyway, story-wise, he's actually going to meet another group of people. They're going to kind of kick him while he's down a little bit, take his bag and throw it away. Then a little creepy little kid thing is going to show up and just murder the shit out of him, and then like grin at him and turn around and walk away, and you're just like, all right. But anyway, moving on, we come across a bloody battle scene, and only one survivor, and it's this dude laying on the ground with no legs. And now make sure you're paying attention here on this page, because Kiri is going to ask him at some point in here, what happened? And there's going to be a couple of those quick little panels of this guy unplugging something from his head, because that's kind of how they store information. I haven't decided what exactly they plug into their head yet, but whatever. But he unplugs whatever it is from his head and hands it to Kiri. And now that little last panel of the page thing that he does is going to be a real small picture. That last panel of Kiri plugging it into his head, and you turn the page, and now all of a sudden it's just like bombastic action scene of all this crazy shit with all these crazy people that you don't know and have never seen or met before. And if you weren't paying super close attention to the one panel of him unplugging it and the last panel of Kiri plugging it into his head, you might not know what's going on this page. Like I didn't. So of course you have to go back and you have to go, what the f? Oh, okay, I get it. Now you can move forward. This is a trend of having to constantly go back every couple of pages, at least one, be like, wait, what? Okay, I got it. But he straps the guy to his back and moves on. But I can't help but literally stop reading on some of these pages and just stare for a little while at some of these panels in awe. And especially this one. I think this one stopped me more than any other panel in the whole book. Possibly because it shows how big this place is, or maybe it just makes you realize just how small the people are. But there's not much time here because those things that killed the guy's crew are back. And have I said yet just how good the action in this manga is? Because it's just stunning. And Kiri is just a complete next level badass. But they go flying out of a little hole or chute or something and fall down this long shaft or something, and they end up landing on the ground on the bottom, and the guy with no legs does not survive the fall. And we know that he didn't survive the fall because there's one single little panel of a close-up on his eye to let you know. Because the very next panel, he's just gone. If you weren't paying attention and you didn't see that one little picture of his eye, you wouldn't have any clue that he was dead. And you're going to have to go back and look again. Like, where is he now? Why is that guy missing? Anyway, are you seeing the trend here yet? This is a much more high effort read. You have to put so much more effort into reading this than, say, Berserk. And I'm absolutely loving it. This is almost like a puzzle as I go, because I'm like, oh, no. And I'm like, terrified of missing something. It's got me, the tension is jacked up, and it's not because the story is tense, it's because the reading experience is tense. Things just come and go, and you're like, wait, no. And I absolutely love it. But I can also see at the same time that if this isn't your thing, I can see how somebody would absolutely hate reading this. But now we're going to meet some more of those freaky looking humanoid looking things. The more human looking human things? I don't know. But these ones are called Silicone Life. By the way, I think the last ones were called the Administration. The last ones that kind of looked like the robots from iRobot, like the Will Smith movie, those ones. I think those ones are the Administration. I'm not positive, but I think. These ones are called Silicone Life. Don't quote me on any of this. Anyway, they have a quick conversation about the Administration, Kiri, and the Silicone Life. And even the Silicone Life's like, yeah, we don't understand each other. Us and the Administration, we don't communicate. They don't understand us. We don't understand them. We're if I know what they're doing over there. And even though I don't trust the Silicone Life in this conversation, but at least they're actually willing and able to stand there and have a conversation with Kiri when he comes at him like extra hard, and he just looks at him and he's like, by the way, I found that place with your embryos. I destroyed it. And you're just like, dude. So this ends up going just about as well as you think it's going to go, and it just explodes into them trying to murder him. What'd you think was going to happen, dude? Anyway, I mean, at this point, we know that something's up with Kiri, because this chick literally puts his head through a wall, and he just keeps going like nothing happened. But anyway, he runs away and he escapes from those people, and immediately he comes across a boy or a dude, this guy, who shows him this vast bridge across to the next section of construct or something. And we also get to see that there's ways of growing food that they've developed, and there are these giant spider-looking robots that climb up and down the walls that are called builders, and they go throughout this massive thing and they build and rebuild the sections as they go. Basically, what their name sounds like they do. When the Silicone Life from before that he ran away from, they're going to catch up to him, and now we're going to have to finish that fight. And it's glorious. But of course, that guy that we just met, he doesn't make it out alive, because nobody really seems to survive being in Kiri's wake. Nobody. But anyway, now that they're dead, including his new friend, he's going to now journey across that long bridge that we just saw, and he's going to keep traveling to the next section of the building. And real quick here, we're going to get introduced to another group of, I think they're cyborgs, but they look real tribal-ish. And they basically, he goes to help one of them or something, and they throw some shit at him and give him like this real, like some almost like warning shots, like don't f with us. And then they just walk away and leave him be. And it looks like Kiri got the message too. He's like, yeah, peace. Just for him to go into the next section, which is populated by these giants. And he goes into a little shop, and we have a whole conversation with the giants in the shop. And he tells them he's looking for the net terminal gene. And they say, you know, we don't know shit about that. But there is this place called the cluster. And in the cluster, there is a genetic engineer. If you're looking for genes, go find the genetic engineer. To which they talk a little bit more, and he ends up getting them to allow him to ride with them on one of their transports to the cluster. And gee, I wonder if this is going to go smoothly, because it doesn't. The transport ship is going to be attacked by those tribal people that we just saw, and they're trying to get inside and take whatever's in there. And the people are going to defend it violently, the giants. And they say they're looting us or something along those lines. I think it's looting. And to which Kiri, this is his barge. He bartered himself a ride, and now these people are being attacked by cyborgs. He's been fighting cyborgs this whole time. And they're going to say they're looting us. Guess what Kiri's going to do? He's going to go outside, and he's going to mercilessly murder these things the whole way there. I mean, he's just going to slaughter the shit out of them. Then when we get to our destination, him and this little suitcase-looking robot guy, he finds out They were not trying to loot the transport. The transport was transporting their buddies' bodies. They're like friends' bodies were in that transport. They were stolen. And their bodies were being transported by the giants to these other people who were going to cut them up and use their organs to sell on some black market. And Kiri just slaughtered all of these people that did nothing but try to get their friends back and keep them from being chopped up and sold. So he's been lied to. And he immediately goes on a rampage and he slaughters anything, everything, anyone, everyone that had to do with that barge, that transport, the big creatures that are just coming in to do their job to carry the packages off, gone. It's all just devastated in his wake because he was lied to and he was party to this business that he, no, f you and your business. It was, oh my God. It was so good. I loved it. So now we're at the cluster and we're looking for the genetic engineer. And let me say that at this point in the story, it's actually starting to feel a little bit more like a story that you could follow a little bit more easily and smoothly. Not necessarily because the actual style of storytelling has changed, but because you have enough pieces. You have officially got enough little pieces of the backstory and little pieces of character work, and you understand how the characters work, you understand how the world works for the most part, and you understand how the storytelling style itself works, and you kind of have worked yourself into a groove with the way that it flows, and it's starting to become something that I feel like I can comfortably read, and it feels, I don't know how to explain it, but this reading experience has become smoother at this point in the story for me, now that the book's almost over. But anyway, so we can't get into the cluster with the actual workers, so we're going to have to find another way in. So we're going to go down to the service tunnels or something where Kiri's attacked by this thing and these people just to end up in what looks like a sewer with a decaying corpse torso of a cyborg looking thing who claims to be the chief scientist. So of course, he does the only logical thing and straps the corpse to his back and starts walking with it. At this point, they enter what looks like a pretty pristine lab. And at this point, the corpse thing goes, "Ooh, bodies!" And I literally laughed out loud. And I think this is the first time, or at least the first time that I remember in this particular story, laughing out loud. And to which he's just like, "No, you can have a body after you've helped me, not before." But anyway, they access this terminal and show him like a map of the place and say, "This is your location. This is where you need to go. Head up this ramp and go to this room." But anyway, the corpse tells him where to go and he leaves. And he goes up to the room and he comes face to face with the president, who looks like this, by the way. And that girl from like one scene ago comes back and attacks him again. And the fight scene ensues, and it's just as glorious as ever, and it's just as insane, and you're getting just as worked up as always when suddenly Kiri loses his arm. And I did not see it. I mean, I was shocked. I did not see it coming. It caught me off guard. At this point, I thought he was invincible. I didn't know you could even hurt the guy after the whole head through the concrete wall bit, when out of nowhere, this chick shows up with all this gear and pretty much just saves the day. And I'm not even gonna lie, I had literally no clue who this chick was that just showed up to help and starts fighting and shooting shit and going, you know, yelling at him. She's calling him by name. She's like, "Kiri, shoot the president, do this." And I'm like, who? What is going on? It definitely didn't click. Like, it did not click in my brain right away that this was supposed to be the corpse torso. Like, this was the first time in a while that I had to stop reading and go back and be like, what did I miss? But anyway, they defeat the president and they win the fight, and it's like, pew pew, big action scene, fight scene. And I really do like the action in this manga a lot. But now we're back and we're done, and Kiri's got his arm in this gigantic machine, and I'm assuming it's either reattaching it or butted it up against there and it's healing it back together or something. But in this scene, the girl chief scientist, previously the corpse torso thing, says that there's a big wall separating this stratum from the next stratum, and nothing can penetrate it, except maybe that gun you carry. But I'm coming with you. We end on a panel of them walking together up a flight of stairs, presumably to go blast a hole in this impenetrable wall and move on to the next section. The end. And holy shit, was this a good manga. I mean, start to finish, it was completely different. I was not ready. I had done research in the sense that I knew that this was a mystery and a puzzle as you read it. I had heard things. I watched those 2 videos, remember? I make it sound like I did some extensive research. But anyway, but I even knew that this was going to be a kind of a different experience, and I still wasn't ready. I would say that I can't recommend this enough, but this is such a strange monster that I don't know who I could even recommend it to. But for me, you know what? But for me, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just call it right now. This was an absolute 9. Wow, I'm impressed. I am impressed, and I had a wonderful time with this one. Holy shit, 9. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching, and I'll see you next time.
ブラム